Hey guys, how we doing and how we feeling today? I'm your host Emilio Fernandez, and this is the Pop and Bob podcast. Now, first of all, welcome back. Really great to be with you guys once again. I know it's been a while, but here we are, kicking off season 7. Okay, so let's get right on with it. So in this season 7 premiere, we're gonna talk about and review BLACKPINK's third Korean mini album / EP. Now, in case you don't know who BLACKPINK is, who they are, they're best known for hits like Kill This Love and How You Like That. Now, this EP is a blend of 4 subgenres, which are K-pop, EDM, hip-hop, and synth-pop. Okay, so some of the producers on this album, co-producers, are Diplo, for Major Lazer, a really big producer, pop, EDM producer, Circuit, among others. These 2 are the most notable ones. Okay, so prior to the EP release, we had the lead single Jump, released back last year in 2025. Back then, we didn't really know what that single was gonna lead into. Like, we didn't know that was a lead single. Okay, let me rephrase that. I, for one, and I'm sure many others thought that maybe it was in fact the lead single, but leading like a lead single to a third full-length studio album, not an EP like this. Or maybe some other people thought that it was just like a throwaway, like standalone single. But at least it led to a project. Like, it wasn't a throwaway single, like a buzzer single, Okay, so anyways, and we had the second single on the EP release day, which was Go. Okay, so this EP is 5 tracks, and it's around 15 minutes long, so you can just breeze right through it, Well, in case you don't know, but many of you should know this by now, that when it's an EP, it's it's like half of or less than half of what a full-length studio album would be. So an EP could be around, like, going from, 3 tracks to like 7 tracks, sometimes 8. So yeah, this is on the shorter side of a listening session. So it has a lot of replay value, but we're gonna get into just how much, yes, I just said that a lot of replay value, but we're gonna get into the specifics of that. You'll understand it a bit. Okay. So, starting with the first track, Jump, the first of my highlights, my standouts on the EP. So, this is a strong opening track. This song was co-produced by Diplo. The track pulls you in immediately with its highly energetic sound. And in this song, the girls are feeling empowered, making it clear that when the 4 of them are together, nothing and no one, absolutely no one, can stand in their way. The girlhood theme of this track was naturally a fitting comeback following a 3-year hiatus from their previous album, Born Pink, and each of the girls releasing solo projects. So, okay, in case you're not familiar with these 4 girls, they are Lisa, Jennie, Jisoo, and Rose. So, going briefly through their solo endeavors from these last couple of years. So between their second studio album as BLACKPINK, Born Pink, as I just mentioned, which was released 4 years ago, back in 2022, to now, to this EP deadline. Um, so we had, first up, Rose released her debut studio album, solo studio album, Rosie, in 2024. Then we had Lisa's debut solo studio album, which was Alter Ego, in 2025, last year. Also last year, we had the debut, I would say, yeah, EP, mini album. It wasn't the full-length studio album, by Jisoo, which was Amortich. And we had Jennie's debut solo studio album as well, which was Ruby. So, and we actually reviewed Rose's Rosie album on this podcast, so be sure to check that out after you watch this episode. Okay, so going back to this song. So, yeah, I mean, this song is kind of, I was gonna say straightforward, but maybe not necessarily, but in a way it is, because it's your run-of-the-mill, like, empowering anthem. And, you know, the girls saying that when they're together, they're like nothing and no one can stand in their way. They're sisters, they say it just like that in the song. And it was a really nice comeback for them, I would say. It went on to do extremely well. For example, on Spotify, it has accumulated a lot of streams. I think by now it has reached over half a billion streams. So big hit. But I thought that at least I thought that it was gonna do a little or considerably better than that, because, you know, when you have, back then it was a 3-year hiatus since Born Pink. The girls went on to do their own stuff. Lisa also starred in The White Lotus season 3, and Jennie starred in The Idol. And yeah, I mean, the girls were booked and busy. Also, Jisoo has starred in K-dramas such as Snowdrop on Disney Plus. I believe that's what it's called. And Rose had, not even arguably, she had hands down the biggest solo hit from the four of them, which was Apate with Bruno Mars, which was Grammy nominated. So yeah, the girls were doing really well for themselves. So when it was time to go back to BLACKPINK, a 4-girl unit, it was a statement like to be made. They had a lot of pressure to deliver, and I would say that they did deliver. You know, regardless of how the song charted, and as I said, that it could have been even a bigger hit, it really did what it needed to do. So, okay, moving on to track number 2, Go. Another one of my standouts on the EP. As I previously mentioned, this was the second single, and I think by now there are gonna be no more singles from this EP. I mean, there are only 5 tracks, so at least back in February, when the EP dropped, I thought that maybe they were gonna push a third and final single, and my pick for that, and we're gonna get into that song after this one, my pick would have been Me and My, the next track. Well, we're gonna get into that, as I'm saying, after this song. So going back to this song. So this song was produced by Circuit. Now, this track made a lot of sense to be pushed as a single, given its grand production a worthy follow-up to Jump. The Blackpink chanting towards the end gives the track a more energetic feel. And yeah, basically this, if you are familiar with Blackpink's music, you know that they, like their thing is that they say Blackpink in your area in each song. But something happened this time around with in this era that they opted out of doing that. And in this EP, I believe that they don't say that like catchphrase, like that catchphrase, I believe it's nowhere to be found on this EP. But at least in this song, they made something similar to that with the Blackpink chanting towards the end, as I said. And it's, yeah, I mean, it feels like it's meant to be performed live, because I believe that they have only performed the lead single Jump when they did the Deadline tour. I think it was last year, 2025. Before this EP dropped, Jump was the only song out back then. So the rest of the songs have not been performed, at least to my knowledge. So this song in particular, it's begging, it's screaming to be performed live. Anyways, in this song, the girls are all about getting intimate with someone else, as well as being there for someone going through a heartbreak, breakup, whatever you want to call it. Now, yeah, this song, it's really commanding, you know, that the fact that it's called Go. It's an action, call to action. And yeah, I mean, there's not a lot I can add to this song. As I said, they're talking about getting intimate, physical with someone else, but at the same time, being there for someone that's really going through it. Like someone that just broke up, experiencing heartbreak, something of that sort. So yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love all sorts of messaging in songs. I also like when, as is the case with this song, when artists talk about their intimacies. Like, why not? Just go for it, express yourself. As long as it's done more on the more tasteful side, I'm all for it. But I can appreciate that that's not the only thing going on in this song, that it's also talking about something more serious, a more deep message. I can always appreciate that. Now, track number 3, Me and Mine. So now we're getting into that song. The last of my standouts on the EP. So I believe that this is where the EP like peaks. This is a plateau. We're not gonna get any higher than that. So this is one of the strongest tracks on the EP. This song has a certain hip hop flair to it, incorporating Lisa's signature rapping. And speaking on a personal perspective matter, Lisa has always been, like, as long as I have been following Blackpink's music and journey, I have always gravitated towards Lisa the most out of the 4 girls. Don't get me wrong, every one of them has something that I admire, I like. But Lisa, I don't know, like they're all very talented, don't get me wrong, but Lisa, with her rapping skills, her vocals, like her actual singing voice, her dancing, like she's very multifaceted. So I always appreciate a triple threat like that. And she can also act, as I said, as she starred in The White Lotus. So yeah, I love how she raps on the song. Like, it really flows really well. And in this song, the girls are feeling like bad bitches, acknowledging that their pretty privilege comes with its perks. The production does a great job at really matching this kind of girl power anthem. So, again, kind of straightforward. You know, it's called Me and My, and in the case of the song, it's Me and My Girls. And I just love when, in this case, when female artists talk about being like a bad bitch and all that like jazz, all that badass energy. I love that. I live for that. So yeah, I mean, this song really does it for me in that sense. And Blackpink has always been about girl power, empowerment, confidence, you know, all those kinds of themes, which kind of just thought of it right now. Those themes are similar to Little Mix when Little Mix was still around. Um, you know, they've been saying that they could get back together as the three members that were Little Mix by the end before their hiatus. Anyways, sorry, I'm getting off topic, but the point is that Little Mix had similar themes in their music. As I said, girl power, empowerment, self-confidence, like love in all its forms. So, and something that they also have in common, Blackpink and Little Mix, is that they're two of the most successful girl groups, at least, like without a doubt, of our generation. They are among the most successful girl groups, and also including Fifth Harmony, of course. But okay, so going back to this, we're gonna go into the next track, which is track number 4, Champion. So as I said, it's not necessarily that this EP is going downhill starting from this track. Well, we're almost at the end, but it's not that it's going downhill. It's just that, yeah, I mean, there always has to be a peak in everything. And at least for me, we just hit that in the previous track. So this is just like a lesser track, but it's a good track. It is good. Now, the instrumentation, in this case the electric guitars and drums, give this track a more lively feel and sound, really living up to its bold title. I mean, it's called Champion. And in this song, the girls are all about resilience. No matter how many times they experience failure, they will keep trying until they get it just right. They're well aware of just how strong they really are, and they'll always put that strength to good use. So, okay, I was gonna say another straightforward song, but I mean, we've seen in this EP that, I don't know, like Blackpink kind of kept it simple in the lyrics, which is not a bad thing at all. I mean, at least it's easier for like the listeners to understand what they're saying, because sometimes it can happen that it happens to me as well, that there are some artists that they get so deep into their lyrics that sometimes you don't even understand what they're saying, like in the sense that it's very metaphorical and a lot of allegories, analogies, and sometimes you just don't get what they're trying to say. So that is one good thing of keeping it simple with the lyrics, that you can just jump right into it, not have to think about it a lot. So yeah, that's a good thing. And yeah, I mean, as I said, this is a really bold title, Champion. And I love a good, like, feel good, sorry for the redundancy, if that's even a word, but I love a really good, feel good track anthem. I know it can be like cheesy, cliche, and what have you, but I can appreciate when artists put that into their music, like that message, even though it can be really like repeated among many artists. That same old message, at least when they put their own spin on it. That message of, you just have to keep hustling, keep trying, don't give up. It's a really great message to live by, of course. And that brings us to the final track on this EP, track number 5, F Boy. I don't want to say the whole word, so you get what I'm saying, F Boy. So the girl slow things down with this acoustic guitar ballad. This is not a very strong closing track, I have to say. The weakest overall, even. But it's still a decent song nonetheless. And the lyrics are by far its strongest element. Now, in this song, the girls flip the script on the guys going around being players with women, as they assume the role of the F-boy here and give these men a taste of their own medicine. So this is a really playful track to end us off. I know I said that it's not a very closing track, but it's not that strong, mainly because of, I was gonna say the production, but this song is mostly like instrumentation heavy. So in this case, it's mainly like, I don't know, it's just like sonically, it's not very compelling, but the lyrics are its strongest element without a doubt. So I love how, as I said, they take this F-boy archetype and they switch it up. And this time they're being the F-boy. And they're like telling a guy like, hey, what if I was the F-boy and not you? Like, what if I played with your feelings, played with your head, your thoughts, all that? How would you feel about that? Like, really, honestly. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people can relate to this. Yeah, like F-boys are just, they're a really weird breed. Let's just say that. I can say more things, but we'll keep it at that. Now, that was the EP, or the mini album, whatever you want to call it. Now, overall, this is a solid K-pop mini album. The Blinks, in case you don't know, the Blinks are the fandom name of BLACKPINK. The Blinks expected a third studio album. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I also expected that. But given that the album, which is the actual name of their debut studio album, and Born Pink, the second album, are both 8 tracks long, this 5-track mini album isn't that inferior of a project, meaning that, by inferior I mean that not having to do anything with quality. I'm talking about strictly about the length, like the quantity in this case, because you go from 8 tracks to 5. It's three tracks less. I mean, obviously, like BLACKPINK, the Blinks are accustomed to by now of receiving these shorter projects. Like, they're not really spoiled like that. Like some other artists spoil their fans, their stans, by giving them like long projects. But as long as the quality is kept at a high level, everything is all right. And in this case, that brings me to my next point. Quality was definitely ensured here, with all tracks having varying levels of memorable elements to them. And finally, the production is mostly consistent. Now, when comparing this EP to the rest of BLACKPINK's discography, do I consider this to be their strongest body of work yet? No. I still believe that, and I believe I mentioned this on the Born Pink review that we did a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, that the album, their debut studio album, is still their strongest body of work yet. Now, what score do I give this EP? I give it a strong 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, guys, so that was our review for Deadline by BLACKPINK. Before I go, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell if you're on YouTube. Also, make sure to review us on your podcast streaming platform of choice. We're on a bunch of them. We're on Spotify, and on Spotify, I don't know if where else you can leave comments aside from YouTube, but on Spotify you can also leave comments, so make sure to leave those because we want to hear what you guys think about this episode and the other episodes. We're always striving to improve, and I mean, now that we're kicking off this new season, we want to just keep improving for you guys. We want to know, just leave your thoughts there. We're also on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, among others. And also make sure to follow us on all social media. It's just at Pop and Bob or Pop and Bob on all of them, because we have much more content for you guys pretty much every day or almost every day. So yeah, be sure to do that. And yeah, guys, that has been our review for Deadline by BLACKPINK. This has been Pop and Bob, the Pop and Bob podcast. Welcome back. We're really looking forward to this new season with you. So thank you so much for watching this episode, and we'll catch you next time.